Hello everyone, welcome to Chuck's Creations. This is Chuck, and today we're going to be taking a look at how to change the final drive on a K1200R, and the process is going to be the same on an K1200S. So this one needs a speed sensor, so that is coming undone right now. And the gears in the back of this one, as you will see, one of the bearings has started to go out. So got the sensor wire unhooked and out, breaking the rear wheel lug nuts loose, and we'll take a closer look at that rotor. It was resting on the caliper a bit, and you can see it wants to move around. Not healthy on the back of the motorcycle, so there's a replacement for it. I thought I would show how the replacement goes in, breaking the caliper loose. You may choose not to do this and break the rotor bolts loose. It's not mandatory, but it can be helpful. And caliper off. So, time for the rotor bolts. They're tight. They are real tight. So there's a suggestion for a different tool setup here to keep your tool more square. There's only one little spot to put the tool. And maybe you can hear that. How tight they're on there. They're on there pretty good. And it takes a minute. Honestly, this is one of the longer processes of doing this. It's still good. It's still good. Alright. Get the last bolt out of there. Rotor comes off. Taking the sensor out of the back. Right there is the worst bend in the anti-lock sensor wire. Taking the plug out just for the fun of it. Let's take a look at this oil. I'd call that a trailing arm, taking the trailing arm loose.
That looks bad. Looks like there's got water in it. And it looks low. Very low. And it's just been leaking out.
What a pretty rainbow. That's something you never want to see. Draining the oil out of the final drive of any motorcycle. So, moving on. The lower main hinge bolt here. It's a nut and a bolt. The bolt is a T55 on the inside, and it's a bushing / nut on the outside. I'm showing off the U-joint there just to check it out. It slides off the shaft, nothing holds it on there, so get this broke loose, take the bolt out, pull the bushing on this side. What you're not going to see is there's a bushing very similar to the one I just pulled out with a larger head on it. It needs to come off the inside just like the outside did. And then the unit comes right off. So bad unit's off there. Not too difficult, really. Here's the new unit. Putting the rotor on and getting all the bolts in it ahead of time. You can see the little spot where it's the only spot for the wrench to go for that. If if you were looking at it installed on the bike, that little spot is in about the 5:30 position, between 5 and 6 o'clock. So, or maybe right around 5 o'clock. I could be wrong. It could be 4:30, but it's right there in that area. So it's got to be lined up pretty good. It has bearings on both sides where this pivot is, and really the parts need cleaned up. I noticed a little bit of grit there, so we get that cleaned up before we put it in there. It's pretty close tolerance. So then you line the U-joint up, and it's fairly exact, but once you get it, you can once you get it lined up, you can kind of move the rotor around a little bit to help it adjust to the splines. And the other thing is that it will not go together unless it lines up. So once you get it lined up, it just goes together like so. You put the upper trailing arm bolt back in, and you're in business. Working away, tightening up some bolts, get the caliper back on there. Does not want to go back on there. The pads need spread a little bit for sure. So get the pad spread a little bit, get the caliper back on there. Got to turn the bike on to get the brakes to work again.
No brake. Brake, please. Okay. We're good.
So I wanted you to hear the solenoids on the bike while the bike's off. It sounds kind of cool. Put the anti-lock sensor in, you clip it onto the brake line, running it to the front as you took it out. You got to snake it around the back side of the rubber booty at the U-joint that's in the front of the drive shaft there by the engine. And you get it around that. Before you clip it on there, you can plug it in. I'll show I think the little plug-in is right there. Yep, okay. Plug it in, slide it back onto its little spot. Plastic washer where the U-joint dead ends into the final drive was forgotten, so it came back apart real fast. Put the plastic washer in there just in case the drive shaft wanted to wander all the way to the back. I think that helps prevent it from touching the nut back there. So plastic washer goes on, goes back together. Take the plug out, put some oil in it. It doesn't take a whole lot, actually. I don't really know what it holds, but it was less than 1/3 of a quart, I believe, to get it up to full, and there wasn't much in it to start with. So tire going back on, which can be a little bit fun, apparently. It does have a little spot it wants to ride on, and also where the lug nuts go. And there we go. Getting all the lug bolts in there. Making sure they're nice and tight. Got to put the little cover on for accessory power where the plug-in was for the anti-lock sensor. So getting the little cover back on, getting it wrapped up. She's back together. It rode nicely after this, and obviously without the rear wheel flopping around, it's going to be much better. So this is K1200R 2006. This process is very similar for the K1200s as well. So I appreciate you guys watching. I hope maybe some of you learned something, or at least see how this works, and maybe you'll be able to change the oil in your own bike or repair it or any of these things. If you enjoyed the video, please like and subscribe, consider sharing, and I'll see you guys next time.